We're back! After the longest off season ever.
Multi-year, even.
We're back!
We're back!
We're back! We're back. So we were busy.
We were a titch busy.
What did we do?
Well, first there was this little thing called COVID-19. It was a bit of a buzzkill, if I'm being honest.
It was.
Yeah, it was hard to make content about a theme park.
That was closed.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's true.
And then we made a baby.
We made a whole human.
Yeah.
What? Ugh.
And then raised him for a year.
For literally 16 months.
Yeah. So
we were busy doing that.
A little busy.
But we're back. We're back on it, baby.
In more ways than one, actually, since in that time we have gone on not one, not two, but 3 more Disney trips.
And wait, are you counting Universal in that too?
No,
because we went to Universal and we didn't talk about it, and we should, because Universal wasn't a really good experience for us.
It was a negative experience.
Right, and changed our perception of it. Actually, you know what? I just saw a TikTok that was talking about, if ever you think you're having a bad day, just remember that somebody bought tickets for Magic Kingdom thinking that Harry Potter World was going to be in it. And I thought of that, because there are so many people, I think, that seem to think that. Which is,
that is
very odd, but anyway.
Do your research. They're going to have much bigger fish to fry when they're at Magic Kingdom, and not only do they not realize that Harry Potter's at an entirely different theme park, they don't know about Genie Plus. There's so much.
Right, oh my God.
They're going to have a miserable
Think about all
day.
the things that they haven't done if they found themselves thinking that Harry Potter World was there, but
yeah.
I digress. So we went on a couple Disney trips. In fact, we got back from a Disney trip 4 days ago? Less than a week ago. How was it?
10 out of 10. And we should preface this
really
by
good.
saying we went on this Disney trip without our baby.
We did not take our baby.
Big shout out, thank you to my parents who
That's for real.
voluntarily wanted to watch him.
Our child while we did that. But
if we were being honest, as much as we know that he will love the theme parks one day, we knew that at his current stage of 1 and change, he was just going to slow us down.
Yeah, and so this was sort of a work trip. That's what I kept telling myself, so I didn't feel bad about going. Because we had some stuff that we had never done, that we got to do for the first time on this trip, that now you can talk about in your trip planning.
Yeah, some big deals.
For this very important and highly successful podcast that I needed to provide content for. So we got back 4 days ago.
Mm-hmm.
What were some of the new things that we did that we had never done before?
Well, 2 major things, and then a third thing that you and I really love, but plus some others, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
The 2 big things that anyone will have heard of are the Tron Light Cycle Run coaster and Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind.
Wait, I thought you were going to say we had never been to Food and Wine, and we had never been to Not So Scary. I thought that those were the 2 big things. So we did more than 2 big things then. Because those are also big things.
Yeah, so we've been to festivals at Epcot before. We have done Flower and Garden, and we've done Festival of the Holidays. We had never done the
Food and Wine.
And we had also never done Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party over at Magic Kingdom, though we have done one after hours event.
And one holiday event.
It
Very Merry Christmas. That's what's called.
Yeah, it was the Very Merry Christmas. Again, kind of, it was in 2021, so it was with more COVID restrictions in place.
Yeah.
We were supposed to take a trip in October of 2016, and that trip was unfortunately canceled due to Hurricane Matthew, and the park closed. So this was...
And then we were all supposed to take one in October of 2020, weren't we?
November, but yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay. I was like, is that a false memory that I have? Yes.
You were close. So
somewhere around there.
So this was really a trip like 7 years in the making.
That we had tried to do twice before.
Yeah. And I'm glad it finally got to happen because it was not a disappointment. Both activities, both festival and the Halloween party were super fun. And then, of course, the new attractions were fantastic as well. And then the one other miscellaneous thing that is a bigger deal to us than I'm sure most people, we really loved the new Moana.
We got to do Moana Journey of Water, and I loved that. I thought it was going to be like a nothing, like a throwaway. I don't know. Like they, like for example, you get off of Test Track, and they have like little entertainment bits. You know what I mean? Where there's like technically it's entertainment, but they're sort of like silly little games that you
diversions.
That you wouldn't necessarily make a special trip to go see. But I thought Moana Journey of Water was way cooler. I was expecting it to be one of those like Test Track exit ride sort of things, but it was much cooler than that, which was great. So
the Moana Journey of Water was the sort of attraction that I want to go out of my way to take our son to see one day because it feels extremely memorable, and depending on what you want, you can get quite a bit out of it. Do we want to unpack that as an attraction and start talking about that?
Yeah, let's do Moana Journey of Water, and then we will talk about some of the other new experiences. Mm-hmm. But I'm so excited to talk about Moana Journey of Water. We almost we almost forgot to do it.
It was on our wish list,
and then we got wandered away.
Totally forgot to do it on the first day because we went to Epcot 2 days of our 3. Mm-hmm. The third day we went to Magic Kingdom, and so when we forgot to do it on the first day at Epcot, we made a wish list and said, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe we forgot to do this! So let's make sure we do it on our next day." And then the next day, we're down to like the last 3 hours of the night, 2 hours of the night.
It was like 6:30, and we were like, wait, let's double check and make sure that we did everything we wanted to do. And then we were like, oh my God, we were booking it back over to because we had been over on the other side earlier I don't know. So we were in World Showcase. We were like bopping back and forth all over Epcot. We probably did twice as many steps as we really needed to, but we went to go see it, and I was kind of worried as we were walking up that they might have closed it when the sun was setting because we were getting there right at dusk, but I don't think they did because they kept it open until close. I've also seen pictures of people doing it at nighttime, and it's been later, so it wasn't just the first part, where they were doing like a soft opening or something. So it seems that they are just keeping it open as the park is open, which is cool. But it was way cooler than I thought it was gonna be.
Lit and clearly intentionally meant to be open in the evening times. And something I appreciated about the attraction is that it's really, you can get something out of it no matter your age or no matter your hope. So we saw little toddlers running through, getting drenched, and just having the time of their lives. It was like a splash pad. But there was also plenty of explicitly labeled like dry paths where if you really wanted to focus more on the aesthetic, or if you were going with somebody else who wanted to be wet but you're averse to that, that was an option. My personal favorite...
You didn't also get soaked either. There was one kid who was like really frolicking in the water, but it was...
If you want to get soaked, you can.
It was more that there was water around you, not necessarily that you were getting wet. Yeah. But you could get droplets on you, I suppose, so...
Yeah. But my personal favorite aspect of the attraction was the aesthetic for the purpose of photos.
Oh my God, it was so pretty.
It was twilight, and you'd think it'd be poorly lit, but it has such a beautiful backdrop of Spaceship Earth, which also lights up at night, and the water was being well lit, and the foliage within that area is well lit. So I think we got some of our most beautiful photos from the trip.
I would agree. And I think it was both, one of the things that I really liked about it was that toddlers could find it very interesting, all the way. We found it very interesting. I felt like I learned a little bit about the water's life cycle, but I also just found it very cool and aesthetic, and that was part of what made it fun.
There's a lot of play spaces.
Yes.
So it is educational, and you can get that piece out of it if you read the signage. But you can also just play with water, and they have the water be really interactive.
Yeah.
There's a lot of like sensor-based technology. So there's two parts that really stood out to me. One is this section where it's musical notes.
That was so cool.
And it's little streams of water coming down. And which one you interrupt is a note it plays. And I was purposely like skipping to see like,
If it would do different,
different notes consistently? Yes.
Yes.
It was not just following one song.
Right. Because we have a toy for Bennett that if you push the buttons, no matter which ones you push, it'll play a song, making it seem as though he's much more musically gifted. Like the first time I saw it, I was like, are you playing Mary Had a Little Lamb somehow? And it turns out, no, he was just pushing the same button over and over again, and it was changing the notes. But no, this did not do that. This was like a xylophone where each stream of water was a different note, which was very cool. Yeah, they had a lot of really cool interactive pieces that I think, especially if you had like a school-age kid, would have found super awesome. We found it awesome. So
The one I liked was like you stick your hand
Yes!
over a little
I want to know how they do those.
pond,
What? And then like
the water would come up to meet you.
Yes!
So if like you put your hand here, the water would come right here and like then stop. And if you raised your hand, it would go up to meet you. And it wasn't a situation where your hand was just holding down the pressure of water. Because if you pulled your hand away, it also
it would go down.
stopped.
I know. I still want to know how. I need to. Maybe they have somewhere I can figure out how they did that. But it was very cool.
I was delighted. I'm in my mid-30s and just
I found it delightful. Yes, it was
Yeah.
very interactive, very cool, very beautiful. It was way cooler than I thought it was going to be.
So definitely recommend, and it's great both
Worth
during
the
the daytime
stop, yeah.
as well as in the evening.
We happened to get both. Like, we were there right at dusk, and so we got, like, a little bit of daytime, dusk, the golden hour, and then we got... So, yeah, we got the experience of all of it. So, that was great.
So
10 out of
moving
10.
on
Yeah.
to the two coasters.
The two new coasters that we went on.
I'm interested to hear your perspective on them because you are a person who experiences motion sickness and often feels anxiety around coasters. And I love roller coasters, so I'm going to have a different take.
Okay, so we went on Cosmic Rewind, which is the Guardians of the Galaxy one. And then we also went on Tron. I don't know if I have more than like a passing understanding of either of these movies, which
Of
I
the
think,
intellectual properties, yeah.
which I think for Guardians of the Galaxy made it was a little bit more confusing. I still didn't really understand the part where he was like, you're not going to take away rock and roll or something. It didn't really make sense. And I was like, why are they, because you were talking about how they play a different song and I don't know.
Famously, okay, I don't even know much about Guardians of the Galaxy, but I do know that like he famously has this like playlist from the 80s.
Apparently, I don't know. Yeah, allegedly that's famous. I feel like you enter into like the show area. It started off kind of hokey. It reminded me of Universal's rides, where they do sort of like a dorky intro, if that makes sense. Which I'm not opposed to, but I felt like the storyline was confusing. Personally, I found the storyline to be sort of confusing, which, if you're not a person who enjoys the roller coaster, maybe matters a little bit more, because I'm not a huge roller coaster person. So you go in and you are on I couldn't even tell if it was like a trackless system or if there was a track and it was just incredibly smooth, but it was incredibly smooth.
Oh,
and
it's on a track.
It looked like a way more high-tech version of what I think Space Mountain is, if that makes sense. Like it was,
Agreed.
You were whipping around, whatever, and there were stars and everything around you.
It was almost like if Space Mountain had been built in
yeah.
2020 something.
Yeah, right. And so, in that sense, it was cool. I will say it was a little bit more intense than some other roller coasters that I've been on, because we went on Space Mountain with the lights off, which I absolutely detested. That was the worst. I don't think I never want to do that again. It was not as bad as that, but I will say it was something about the way that the lights were going was I found more nauseating than some, because there was like, I think it's the screens. I think that it was screens, wasn't it?
Oh,
I
yeah.
couldn't really tell. I don't know.
Yeah, there's
I was
screens,
disoriented during it, obviously. So I thought but it was pretty quick. And I will say the Tron roller coaster, switching gears entirely. So we went on Tron as well. Again, I don't really understand the IP other than I know they're racing generally. We were on Team Blue. Everyone's on Team Blue. I didn't really understand the whole thing, I guess. But I found Tron. Tron was like a more intense version of Test Track is what I felt like. And that one felt like it was 10 seconds long. Whereas Cosmic Rewind felt like it was much longer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say if I was going to rank them, it would be like Spaceship Earth is about equal with Tron.
I think you're referring to Space Mountain.
Space Mountain, sorry.
I was like, you're really comparing.
Spaceship Earth is out of control.
Totally different attractions
Space
here.
Mountain and the new Tron ride, I would put it about the same.
Okay.
Space Mountain with the lights on-ish. Normal Space Mountain.
Normal, that's what you want to say. Yeah.
Normal Space Mountain with the lights on, or semi-lit. I don't know what it is. It was about the same as Tron, and then I would say Cosmic Rewind was like a one step above, and then Space Mountain with the lights off was off the charts.
So the last thing you're referring to there is called Deep Space Mountain.
Yes.
And during Mickey's Not So Scary, the few lights that are usually on within Space Mountain are turned off. You have the exit lights, and that's it.
I didn't see anything. It was, in fairness to me though, I do ride a lot of rides with my eyes, or roller coasters, with my eyes semi-open or semi-closed. And so I feel like it was like I didn't have anything to ground me. You couldn't see anything. Well, and I felt very, like, disoriented. Anyway, so...
Let's rewind. So I'd like to share my take on this.
Yeah, of course.
So we did Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind on the first day.
Yes.
Over at Epcot. And I really loved it. I agree with the take that it's like a modern version of Space Mountain. The lighting that it uses is really effective. It's a roller coaster in the dark, in space. And the sequence where you're thrown backwards is a really cool touch. But the thing that I loved about it, and I agree that the storyline was hokey, but the part...
I mean, who cares? I don't know.
The part of the attraction that I love is that there's one of 6 different songs that you can get. And it's random, and I think it's...
You asked everyone, and I didn't even notice it. I was so busy, wrapped up in the experience of being on the roller coaster, I did not even notice.
We got, I run so far away. We got that one, and the juxtaposition of being on this thrilling roller coaster where
you're like you were really whipping
saving
around
the world,
yeah.
But you have this, like cool alt-rock sort of song going on in the background is really just enjoyable. I thought that was a lot of fun.
There's soft rock playing in the background.
Yeah.
Whipping around. Sorry, we're getting over colds now that we're back. But okay, so then
the next day
we went to Mickey's Not So Scary. We went to the park to Magic Kingdom during the day.
And during the day, we got to ride Tron Light Cycle Run.
Yes.
And I did not know that it was a race, actually. I didn't get that concept.
I also don't
until I was just, like, boarding the vehicle.
I don't think that you were actually racing, though. Did I miss that part? No,
I don't think
it was
you
just,
actually
I think
are.
that was just the storyline. Because even if you go around the track area, there's only one, so it's not like you could be...
No, I think there's 2 tracks. There are 2 tracks. Because there's 2 boarding areas. Then
I know, but I think they're on the same... I think.
I don't think so.
No, I think there's only one track.
I'm going to have to look that up. So, what I enjoyed about that ride most of all was the launch sequence, because I like thrills. And you just go really fast all of a sudden, and I wasn't expecting that. And I was
sort of like the Slinky Dog Dash, where you do like a 3, 2, 1.
Yeah.
sort of thing. Yeah.
And I had a lot of fun with that. And my favorite part of the ride was, because we rode during the daytime, and I know a lot of people really want that opportunity to ride at night so you can appreciate some of the lighting on the exterior part of the track. Mm-hmm. But what I enjoyed about the daytime part is you can see all of the park guests who are walking up the ramps to go on the coaster as well, or coming and going. And there were people taking videos.
You were very close to them too. Yeah.
There are people taking videos, there are people looking, and I was just like leaning out of the car, like waving.
You were vibing with it, I know. I was hanging on. But you were vibing with the whole experience.
Take the wheel. I was having fun with it.
But I thought that was, it was not nearly as intense as some rides. I don't know exactly what it is, but like...
Smooth track.
It was a very smooth track as well. Yeah. But like the difference between... I felt like Tron felt more like a traditional roller coaster.
Sure.
And the Cosmic Rewind felt more like... some of the rides at Universal, not just in the storyline, but like in the way that they use screens, or it feels something about the way I feel when I'm in there. It feels like my inner ear is like...
It gave me some
wobbly.
Some of the energy of like an Escape from Gringotts, and how it combined screens with a coaster system. Mm-hmm. It's not exactly the same in terms of comparison.
Yeah.
But in terms of what the ride system reminded me of, like, conceptually, kind of spoke to that. Yeah.
I could see that.
And then we get to the Deep Space Mountain, which was at Magic Kingdom only during Mickey's Not So Scary, in which they turn off all the lights.
They lied to me. It was scary. I didn't like it.
That was. So
that was the scariest thing that happened.
Here's what's funny. I had never, obviously, ridden that before. In that iteration, I'd never ridden it with the lights completely off.
The picture
and
that
so
we took,
I'm disoriented the entire
like
time, and I cannot see anything.
Like, I looked shockingly calm for how I was. It was so dark in there.
What she's referring to is the ride photo.
The ride photo at the
goes
beginning
goes off in the same spot it usually does.
But
I was busy looking around trying to figure out what was going on. So in most every other ride photo, I'm like, yeah, like woo, like. I am like comically excited, and you're always like, hey.
Or like,
and here, let's replicate what we looked like on Deep Space Mountain.
Okay, ready? I looked like I was taking a nap. I was.
Yeah, I have this completely disoriented look. Confirmed, yeah. I was completely disoriented.
It was very, and what's weird is we had just gone on the People Mover earlier in the day, and happened to see all of the lights on in Space Mountain, which is
that was on my bucket list in my life, to be able to see Space Mountain with the lights on.
If ever
and bonus, we were not stuck on the coaster like some people were that we went past.
Probably.
We were on the People Mover, so we got to record it.
If you've ever seen the videos of people who are riding Space Mountain with the lights on, it actually makes riding it later much more terrifying, because you're aware of like how
close
it looks like they are right there. I'm sure
the rafters and everything around you are tight.
I'm sure it's an illusion and it's not nearly as close, but like
I stopped putting my hands up on the ride.
After that, I was like, no, I'm gonna keep my hands down and I'll hunch over, because it feels like, I don't know. I felt like it was very tight when I saw it. But yeah, we had randomly seen the lights on, which we'd never seen before on the People Mover, but then happened to go on it in the exact opposite, and it was very stressful, and I didn't like it.
If I'm ranking my favorite, I know you were ranking intensity.
Yeah.
Between those three coasters, and again, I love coasters, I'm going to put Cosmic Rewind at the top as my favorite.
I can do that.
And then I'm going to put Tron, and then I'm going to put Deep Space Mountain. Regular Space Mountain, I'm going to put above Deep Space Mountain, because I just have a super huge soft spot for it. And I might even put regular Space Mountain also above Tron, because again, I have such a big soft spot for it personally. It's got the nostalgia factor.
Yeah.
But I'm going to say that Guardians of the Galaxy is my top new coaster at Disney.
I could see, really, out of all of them.
I think so. Coaster, not ride.
What about the Yeti?
Ooh,
because you like that one quite a bit.
I do like the Yeti quite a bit.
Disco Yeti.
I think because the Yeti isn't working, I'm going to put Guardians of the Galaxy above it.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, Disco Yeti is iconic, but
it
would
is
be cooler if it moved.
I would say Seven Dwarfs is my favorite coaster, and I'm not even sure if that's a coaster. It's like a little baby ride, so.
That's really low on my list, and that's okay. Maybe because it's a baby ride. Also because it squishes the thighs.
It's the bucket seat or something in there. It's like every single time my butt cheeks feel like I'm sitting directly on it.
Why don't we shift into talking about what ruined Universal for us? Because this is actually a really good segue into that.
Right. Okay, so we went to Universal in
May of 2021. So right after we had gotten vaccinated and were in the clear, we decided to go.
We happened to see that there was like a deal and we were able to go, probably because nobody was going yet, I guess. But when there were still relatively a lot of pandemic restrictions.
Yeah.
But we had just been vaccinated, and so we were excited to go and had been inside for a whole year. So we went May-ish of 2021. And we just went to Universal, which we had done like a couple of day trips where we went to Harry Potter World specifically, and done whatever, Hogsmeade, Hogwarts.
It's called the Wizarding World of Harry Potter.
We'd done the Wizarding World of Harry Potter before. And I'll be honest, I always detested the rides at the Wizarding World of Harry Potter.
Because she doesn't like motion sickness screens or coasters, and it's both.
We went on there's the Gringotts ride, and then there's the Escape from Hogwarts. And I
Forbidden Journey.
The Forbidden Journey.
And Escape
whatever,
from Gringotts.
you know what I'm talking about. Okay. Mm-hmm. And I hated both of them. I found them both to be extremely nauseating, and I didn't like them. Okay, so there was like a handful of things that we just didn't really like about Universal that just weren't. It was just like, I kept making this joke. It felt like everything was like universally a little bit worse than Disney. Universally, I wanted everything to be a little bit more like Disney. So, I mean, the one thing that was different was that we stayed in like a deluxe resort, which was very
nice. And the price point, I will say, this is where Universal was better. Mm-hmm. Universal nicer resorts have a better price point, and I don't know if they just gave me a good room because I was a vacation planner and still am, or
I'd take it.
If it was just coincidence, or if it's because no one was there. I don't know, but we had a really good room.
We stayed in
with a pool view.
A weirdly amazing room. Okay, but that was kind of the one thing that I thought was like, oh my God, this is so much better. The transportation was good. We also got to ride a boat. That was cool.
It was fun, yeah.
Yeah, I think there were a couple of things that I think, let's start off by talking about the things that we liked. One, if you were like a teenager maybe who likes thrill rides, it could be a good fit for you.
I'm always going to have a soft spot for the theming of the Potter areas, even if we'll get to how it was wildly inaccessible to me.
Yeah.
But the aesthetics of the Potter areas are excellent.
Yeah, like the theming is really well done. But here's the thing. This is something that we noticed, and this is something that I think was like a huge drawback of the Potter area, was we had gone in 2016, and literally, I'm not even kidding, all the merchandise was the same.
Yes.
The exact, like, literally, as if they had pulled it out of the same box. And I was like, did they?
And let me clarify.
Disney constantly has new merchandise. It was like, literally, I could buy the exact same shirt.
And let me clarify.
And only that.
I understand there are certain parts of the Potter universe that are canon. Mm-hmm. So, like, the school uniforms are not going to change. I get that. I get that the wands, other than some of the features within them and their technology, they're not going to change their aesthetic. I get that. That's cool. But that's like, not what we're talking about. The
t-shirts that like a regular muggle could buy, the same. Literally the mugs, exact same shirt.
Exactly the same mugs. The pins, exactly the same pins. They had added a few new pins, but they were like bad quality. They weren't like, they were like printed on flat. Whereas
it was so strange.
It was like low quality.
It felt like all of the merchandise that they were selling inside of Universal could be purchased at any Walmart, at any like big box store ever. And in fact, I would be shocked if it wasn't. Do you know what I mean? Like,
it was really disappointing.
And I was really shocked that they had not had any turnover Because Disney, I don't know, there's like a new product every 3 minutes that's launched at Disney.
Yes.
And I like all of it.
I'm like, I went to Universal ready to pour my money into Potter merchandise.
And then I was just so
and they were
disappointed.
like, oh, you already have all of that.
Yeah, and
We've
it's also
changed
like
nothing.
really basic stuff.
They had the same like Quidditch shorts for all the houses.
For like literally the exact same pairs. It was very odd.
5 years later.
Okay, so that was like a big... I was
5
like,
years too. I'm not talking 5 months, which also Disney would have completely flipped it over in 5 months.
It was literally
5
years later, okay? Which is like blows my mind because if you were to go on Redbubble right now, you could easily find like thousands of fan art options. And so you're telling me that like Universal doesn't have a single designer working that can create a new shirt? I think that's...
Yeah.
I'm going to call nonsense.
Yeah.
I'm going to say no. I disagree.
We were going to talk about the things we liked about Universal, and now we're just really going on ranting.
That was it. I wanted. That was the fact that it has more intense rides. If that's if you wanted to go to like a Six Flags, it would have rides similar to like a Six Flags.
I suppose, but I would argue that their rides are lazier than Disney's.
Okay. Yes. Here's where I would say
unpopular take. The Potter ones are done decently because they do tend to combine audio animatronics with the coaster with the screens, but a lot of their rides have really become like just screens. And it feels super lazy to me.
The Fast and Furious ride was honestly like the funniest, stupidest thing I think I've ever been on.
Agreed.
Because not only is Fast and Furious like already really lazily written, do you know what I mean? Yes. But it was like somehow they diluted what maybe any charm existed in any of the Fast and Furious movies.
The scene where they're all like dancing in the club and it's like 13 people like squished together like in a line.
In a straight line of people. I know. Okay. So I think...
with the lights on in the club.
We could probably go on and on about this. But I think the main thing that we didn't like about it, and that was... and we saw a clear, like, look, Disney is so much better at this, is... and we were talking about this, is like, if you go to Universal, every single ride is going to have, like... buckle in, like the most intense. I was thinking of the E.T. ride where it's like you have to be like strapped in and you have to like, and I was thinking about that because every time we got on like a ride, I was thinking about that this past trip for whatever reason. Like if you had gone on Seven Dwarfs Mine Train at Universal, it would have been like a full body apparatus, right? Instead of just being like a little seat that you tuck in. But the thing that like brought it up for us is that Tron, you had to put your stuff into a locker, and the locker system was somehow 1 million times better than the Universal.
Let's slow down. Let's rewind.
Okay.
So when we went on the trip in May of 21 to Universal, unfortunately, I did not fit on any of the Harry Potter rides anymore, and it was frustrating. It was really inaccessible. And I had fit on it a few years before. I no longer could. And looking at conversation boards on the internet, it's a really common thing that people don't fit. And not just because they're maybe wide, but also because they're might like be too tall. Or you don't fit because you're too small.
Yes.
At Universal, you have to be a certain size and shape.
Specific body type.
And you have to love thrill rides. And you have to carry nothing with you.
Which was weirdly obnoxious.
In order to enjoy the rides. So when you go to Disney, if you think about any of the rides you can go on, with the exception of like less than 5 rides, you can bring a full-size like school backpack, and we do, onto the ride with you.
Well, and I think the way I was thinking about there's a Men in Black ride, which is very similar to the
Buzz Lightyear Space Ranger spin.
Yes.
And you're shooting aliens with a laser gun.
And you're like spinning around in like a car.
Yep.
At Disney, obviously, you just put the backpack in the
at your
little buggy with you. I don't know if it's an Omnimover, but whatever. But at Universal, you had to like rent a specific locker and do like a special line to go do it. It was very frustrating.
There was no space on the attraction for your
reason. And you also I remember you had to
get a locker. And not only did you have to get a locker, you have to pay for the locker.
If you need a bigger one. Yeah.
People come and go into the locker area interchangeably. So there could be a crowd of people
It was awful.
More so in the Potter areas, like the Forbidden Journey ride. When you're
awful.
in the locker room, you're fighting to put your stuff away at the same time people are fighting to go get their stuff back or to leave. And so it's a constant traffic jam. And those lockers, in addition to costing money and being required...
Were microscopic.
They're microscopic.
They were so small. We were like jamming a small backpack in there.
Like, even a fanny pack's probably not going to fit in a lot of them.
We bring a lot of stuff into the park.
Yeah.
We come prepared. So we had to buy like the extra large lockers, 2 of them.
And even then, it was still a tight squeeze.
Which felt really ridiculous for literally all the rides that we went on.
That do not need harnesses, like that Men in Black ride, have an over-the-shoulder harness.
Right.
Whereas it's an Omnimover, a step in, sit down. It doesn't even have a lap bar.
No.
At Disney.
It's
and you know
literally
what?
the same level of intensity, which is why it's
not
frustrating.
dangerous at Disney.
No.
It's not. And Disney, even if you think about some of their coasters, they make it individual lap bar as however far down it goes is sufficient. It holds you in, you go.
Because even, and I think we were talking about this at Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, it's just like a sit down and you pull the lever down. It just doesn't need to, you don't need to be harnessed in to go, like obviously it's safe enough. I don't know. But it reminded us so much of Universal and how weirdly intense all of their safety equipment is.
Completely unnecessary.
In a completely
and
unnecessary
inaccessible
way.
to fit people or things.
Correct.
And some people do fit. Some people do have a great time. It was not a good fit for us, and it's not a good fit for a lot of families.
No, because then I was also like, there are no rides that I think a younger kid could go on. Anyone with like, if you were pregnant, if you were elderly, if
even the younger kid rides had like special harnesses again. We were on the Dr. Seuss ride, and like
it was very weird.
I barely fit on that because it had like this special contraption, like individualized harness, and I'm like, again, what are you doing?
I don't know. It didn't really make any sense.
Not needed.
No. So the moral of the story is we liked Disney a lot better. And
oh yeah. Even if you compare like that downtown area at Universal between Islands of Adventure and Universal Studios, it left a lot to be desired. Disney Springs is gorgeous. Like if I was a local, I would love going to Disney Springs all the time because it's so gorgeous. And the stores there are excellent. And the food there, there's plenty of great options.
And that's not even getting into how nobody seemed to know how our food voucher thing worked.
Oh, I completely forgot about that.
I know.
Just to try it out, we got the equivalent of a meal plan on our Universal trip. And none of the people that worked there, they were
all confused by it.
Knew how it worked.
It didn't make, which was very strange.
Whereas the meal plan or the dining plan at Disney is coming back in January of 2024.
Yeah.
And I promise you those cast members are going to know how it works.
We don't usually get the meal plan, but...
It's not good value. It's more convenience, and I personally don't find it convenient.
Right. Like, I can understand why people would want to get it. We just don't. We don't get it.
She's too cheap of a date. It'd be good value for me, but not for her.
It's true. I know. But also, I feel like it's too much pressure to, like, eat a meal at every single mealtime when we don't really do that at Disney.
That's true.
But some people do. And that's great.
We just snake mealed a couple times on this past trip.
I snake meal every day.
That's when we just have, like, one big meal and then we're done.
It's when you have one huge meal per day.
Snake meal.
I'm trying to, like, work myself up to, like, a weekly snake meal, but just one huge meal once a week. But the moral of the story is lots of things are better at Disney than they are at Universal. And us going and doing some new things at Disney this time reminded us of how much better Disney is at so many things than Universal. And honestly, for your future episode, we'll have to do a breakdown of like our trip to Universal, because there were so many things that it was such a different experience, because we did a whole bunch of things in the park that we had never done before. We ventured out into like the Simpsons area, and you know, it was a very different experience. And it was We had never been outside of Harry Potter, I guess, so.
The note I wanted to end on for ride accessibility was bringing it back to Disney to talk about Tron Light Cycle Run, which is a ride that they took for the U.S. parks directly from some of Disney's international parks. And so the ride was not particularly accessible for fitting all guests. But they had a seat in the back that comfortably fit any guest that I saw, including her and I.
Yeah.
And it was just as enjoyable as it would be sitting in the other seat. It basically just positioned your body upright, more like you would
like
on Seven Dwarfs Mine Train.
Yeah.
Instead of the bicycle hunch. And I was not disappointed. I thought I might. No, I was not disappointed at all.
I actually feel like we didn't sit in the part where you had to like hunch forward. I feel like that would have made me feel very panicked, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
I feel like I would have been like, it's touching me a lot. And so I liked being in the accessible seat better anyway, but.
And then the other part that Disney did better than Universal is this was an attraction where you needed to put your backpacks away.
It was so much easier.
They had locker rooms that were completely free and completely decongested. Remember, this ride has like constant queuing. The locker room area had big,
you like walk through on one
stalls.
side, and there was a door on one side. You put it in on that side, and then on the exit, you found your same number.
You're in a completely different room on exit because the locker is two-sided. And one side opens to the boarding area and the other side of the locker
to the exit area.
So there was no congestion at all.
It took
we had a wall almost to ourselves when we were getting our
It took
backpacks out.
1 second to do, whereas it felt like doing that at Universal. You had to like fight in and then fight both
And how
times.
much did those lockers cost to use at Disney World?
No dollars.
Free.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was much better.
Because Disney doesn't do you dirty like that. They nickel and dime you for all sorts of stuff.
They will do you
not for the
dirty in other
lockers.
ways, but not that way. That way you got a complimentary locker, which I liked quite a bit. So
Disney is universally better. IMO.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
Sorry
to anyone who's like a big Universal stan.
It's Christy. It's our friend Christy.
Shout out to Christy.
Sorry, bud.
Sorry we're roasting your favorite park. But we did so many new things. And that was really cool. And I felt like we just happened to think a lot about Universal, but because we were at the trip and we were thinking about all the things that like we had not had good experiences with at Universal. But overall, not comparing it to, I really loved all of the new things that we did, because we haven't even talked about, we did Food and Wine Festival, and then we also did Not So Scary. So those were our attractions. Let's talk about our two events. So what did you think of, let's do Food and Wine Festival first. How did it compare to the Flower and Garden, in your opinion?
So you and I were actually really honest about this when we were there. Food and Wine Festival, by its name, is the one that would most attract me.
Yeah.
But in execution, it's my least favorite. And I should preface this by saying I loved it. I adored it.
Yeah.
It's just that the other events, like Flower and Garden and the Festival of the Holidays, have the same concept of a bunch of kiosks from around the World Showcase with food and beverages to try from around the world. And the difference is that they're themed to whatever the theme of the event is. So for Flower and Garden, there was a little bit more of that, like,
they had like edible flowers and like.
And for Festival of the Holidays, it was more like traditional holiday type desserts and treats.
They did the cookie stroll and stuff, yeah.
Yes. And then the other thing that they add for those events are themed activities you can do related to the holidays, or like the butterfly exhibit during Flower and Garden Festival.
That was so cool. Yeah.
Which was really cool. And you and I would adore to one day do the Festival of the Arts.
One of these days, farts.
Because you and I are huge into
arts and crafts.
Yes. And there's a lot of activities with that related to creativity and self-expression, but it also has all those food and beverages that you love that draws you in. So Food and Wine Festival was fantastic.
Yeah.
We loved it. And we would have loved even more related to activities of just cultural significance.
Here's one thing that I think Food and Wine could do better. And maybe, I don't know if I have the same critique for other festivals that happen, but I felt like there was so many booths and so many different things to choose from that it felt like you had to do homework going into it. And you had done the homework. I had done it a little bit, but I felt like I had looked at menus and been like, ooh, that looks good. That looks good. But you have to be very strategic about where you're going to get stuff if you're looking for something specific. Otherwise, I mean, I don't think that the just wander around and find stuff is a bad strategy either, but like it felt like I needed to do more prep work than I did.
I can see that. I like doing that sort of thing. I like having a ton of choices and then narrowing it down to my absolute favorites. But I would have been disappointed had I not done my homework, because you bump into so many kiosks. If you don't know what's ahead of you, you may end up getting full and miss out on something that you would have maybe enjoyed more.
You really wanted, yeah. Did you have a favorite thing that you had or something that you thought was really overrated?
I didn't find anything that I considered to be overrated. I did have a few favorites, and I actually narrow it down to like one sweet, one savory, one drink.
Oh, okay. All right.
So my favorite savory is going to be the bacon with aioli
yes,
French fries.
That was my favorite too. The smoky fries from the fry basket.
From the fry basket
so
kiosk.
Good.
I kept saying this to Rachel as I was eating them. I was like, if the smell of Rome burning in Spaceship Earth
in the best
was
possible
made
way
into a flavor that was delicious, it was those fries.
It could be that. Yes.
As I was eating those fries, I was like, I'm tasting Rome burning, and it's a good thing, which is a fun take. So that was my savory favorite.
I would agree. That was my savory favorite.
My favorite sweet was the chocolate pudding, or not pudding. What was it? The bread.
The
pudding?
lava cake. Is that what you're talking about?
It was from Ireland.
I think it's
the Irish chocolate bread pudding
or lava cake. Maybe
I don't know. It's essentially a lava cake.
Yeah, but it's a
so
chocolate
good.
lump with cream on top of it. What I will do is piggyback on top of that, because actually my two drink and dessert are combined, because we had the Bailey's
shake,
which was both a dessert and alcoholic, and we also got it at Ireland, and it was my favorite thing that
That's awesome.
think I had. So
the interesting thing about the chocolate pudding or bread pudding is that it had been like plugged to me by a couple of people, so I kind of expected it to be overhyped, and I was like, I'll eat it and it was
not overhyped.
Happy. No, I don't think you can oversell it. I'm gonna be honest. It was that good.
I know.
Yeah.
It was that good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then my favorite drink was actually probably the first one I had.
And
I was 0% shocked that I loved it this much. If you've ever gone to France during any time of year, the France Pavilion, and gotten their Grand Marnier slush,
10 out of 10.
then you will love this drink. I got the Cosmo slush, and it had basically the same ingredients as the Grand Marnier slush.
Does it have cranberry in it? Is that what
yes,
makes it the Cosmo?
They had cranberry juice in it, and it was so good, and it hit the spot in like it was like low 80s.
It was
sunny
wonderful.
Day.
Yeah.
It was
very
delicious
refreshing
and so cold, and
it's like the texture of like a good slushy or snow cone,
but with the flavors of a delicious.
But it
adult
doesn't.
beverage.
I think because there's like sugar in it and alcohol, it doesn't like fully freeze all the way.
Right.
If I had to guess.
Right.
So it's definitely more slushy.
And you feel fancy while you drink it.
And it comes in like a cool, somewhere in between like a martini glass and like what are those called? Like a champagne, not a flute, but like what the Great Gatsby, when he's doing the cheers, that's what he's drinking out of. Whatever
I thought
that
it
thing
looks
is.
like a martini.
It does look like a martini glass, but it's more rounded. I don't know. But anyway,
so those were my favorites. Do you have any honorable mentions?
Honorable mentions. Okay. I will say the yuca fries, I was not expecting to like as much as I did, and those were really good. I feel like the aioli is really what made them great, and they didn't have enough aioli. The other, I'm going to do all fries, I think, for all my honorable mentions. The other honorable mention that could have been a dessert was the sweet potato fries.
That was my honorable mention.
Those were great.
The sweet potato fries from the Fry Basket, we got it in the Fry Flight, was delicious. But the case with both the sweet potato fries and the bacon aioli is that both of them didn't have enough sauce.
They didn't.
So like the first few fries you get at the top were to
amazing,
die for,
and then
at the bottom you're just like, I wish I had more sauce.
I wish I had more aioli that I could just eat by the spoon. The other honorable mention that I was going to give was to the Le Cellier. I don't know if it was, but it was like the bacon cheddar soup with the pretzel roll. I could have eaten that for the rest of my life every day, and then
mine is going to come from the same so the Canada kiosk at the Food and Wine Festival had it had the bacon cheddar soup with the
10.
pretzel bun. Very good. I also really liked getting to have a small portion of the filet mignon with the mashed potatoes and the mushrooms
that came with it,
with a whole bunch of like truffle butter on it.
That was delicious. Yes,
so good.
I don't even like beef or like a filet like that.
And an opportunity to essentially eat at Le Cellier for under $20, and you get that like itch scratched and the delicious flavors. Man.
Is that the same soup?
I think it has added bacon.
Oh, because isn't that soup like the one person makes it? There's one woman.
One time we ate at Le Cellier and we were talking to our waitstaff, so I don't know if this is true or not, but this is what we were told.
Because I've thought about this since this time, and I've been like, does that woman work every day?
They said that like the soup recipe is specifically made by one woman, and that she often comes in and makes the soup for them. Again, don't know if that's true or not, but that's definitely what a cast member
I got the
waitstaff
impression
told us.
that they thought one woman made it every single day, and I was like, has she never had a day off? Has she been working?
I do believe it's one person's recipe.
I could believe that. Well, it's one recipe, yes.
Yeah, but I don't think it was like a brainchild of like many hands. I think it was like one person.
Right. But it's like, I don't know. The waiter was like, yeah, one woman makes it always. And then I thought about this woman multiple times because I was like, have you never had a day off? That seems inhumane. I don't think that's right, but there has to be like a team.
That can't be true. Yes.
What if
I think it's just her recipe.
I assume so. And
it's good.
Maybe she's the master chef and she teaches everyone.
That could be.
From there they have to.
There you go.
Anyway, what would you rate our trip at? Give it a score out of 10.
I would say an 8 out of 10.
Wow. I thought you were going to say like
the thing
higher.
That would make it a 10 out of 10 is it gets 1 point knocked off because there were moments that I wish Bennett could have been there to see.
Yes. That's
Even
what
though
I was going to say.
Like him at this age was not a good time for us to take him. But I think it'll be even better when he is at the age and he can enjoy it. Mm-hmm. And the other thing that would have made it a 10 out of 10 would be if it were longer.
Oh, that's true.
So I guess for what it was 10 out of 10. But could I plus it? Could I make it even better? Yes.
I would agree. I was going to say 9.5.
You and I also weren't feeling well on the trip.
Oh my God.
Which we're weirdly veterans of. We were talking about how we've scheduled 10 Disney trips. And 3 of them were canceled due to national tragedies, like Hurricane Matthew, and 2 due to COVID. Mm-hmm. And then on 4 of them, I have been sick.
Like notably sick. Yeah, we woke up both on the middle day of our trip, which would have been
the Magic Kingdom
Friday. Mm-hmm. Correct? Mm-hmm. And both looked and felt like we had been hit by a truck.
Like if we had work that day in our regular lives. I
stayed home from work, but we were like,
I would have
we
gone,
must
but like
power
had my
through.
head down to my desk.
I know. And I think we both just had colds or something, traveling something. It was like upper respiratory. We were both like congested.
We have a toddler, so every 2 weeks it's a new illness.
And gets us sick a lot, so
yeah.
Who knows, but Yeah, we both woke up feeling dreadful, but still powered through.
So I'd say the content of our trip was phenomenal.
Okay, yeah, I would say...
But there were other things around it that could have plus
I would say I'd give it an 8.5 then. 1/2 point because I would have liked to take Bennett, and then the other point deducted because we had been sick for it. But, in the future, I think we should talk about what you can do to prepare for a potential illness or, like, things that can go wrong in the park,
And we had done a pretty good job in that regard.
We did.
Because we're veterans of the Disney
And you just have to be,
travel.
you have to be prepared for something like that because, like, the chances of you getting sick while traveling are pretty high. But
unfortunately, that's true.
Just in general. Just always,
We also, like, overpacked, and it was good that we did. Like, it did not rain
usually
a drop.
It didn't, no.
On our entire trip. But we brought, like, multiple, like, backup shoes for ourselves in our bag every day. And we brought ponchos every day. And, heck, we even brought extra clothes in our backpack.
We were ready. But it was unnecessary, so.
That's okay.
It's better to be prepared, but.
Yeah.
Well, that's what we're going to call it for today, because I don't want this episode to get too long. But look forward to seeing some more posts from us. I'm hoping I'm taking over posting. Peg's just here as the talent, just here to provide her pretty face and expertise on everything, and charisma. And so I'm hoping that we can post about once a week going forward.
I love the idea of it.
And if you have any content ideas, any things you want us to talk about, please let us know. Otherwise, I have so many ideas of things that I know I want us to talk about. Again, we took a break, and I'm ready. I'm ready to get back into it. So
yeah, and I have, since our last recording episode, have become a vacation planner.
A real vacation planner.
Disney. So I took my talents to South Beach, and I now, just kidding, I still live here in Wisconsin, but I do plan.
Is that a sports joke? Oh,
Yep.
I see. Okay, got
if
it.
some people got the LeBron reference.
Oh, is that what that is? Okay,
Yes.
got it. I see.
Yes.
I got that it was a joke about
There you go.
sports.
Yeah.
So,
But if you ever want a little bit of help planning a trip to Walt Disney World, I do that officially now, or I can at minimum point you in the right direction.
Of who could help you for free.
Yeah.
No cost to you.
Yeah.
Just vibes.
And it just helps out, and it makes your trip that much better so that you don't make any of those rookie mistakes, and so that you can make better use of the time that you have.
Because the thing is, we see so many people when we're in the parks who are like, I didn't know that Genie Plus existed. And I'm like,
you should have a travel planner for that.
You should have had a travel planner.
Do your homework. Or let your person who's helping you do your homework for you.
Right. You should have talked to a travel planner. I wish you would have watched a podcast of ours or something like that. Because a Disney trip is not inexpensive. In the next episode, I was going to have us talk about ways that you can save money on your trip. Because we have some good ones, some good hacks that we've come up with.
Yeah.
But, time is money. And not making the most of your Disney trip, it's just a real bummer because it feels like you're wasting money on those. So
it's true.
All right. Well, thank you so much for being here today.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Anytime. I'm so glad you could be a guest here. Please,
here in our living room.
Please get out of my house now. And look forward to seeing for some more posts from us.
Yeah.
Happy whatever day of the week it is that you're watching this and time of day. And have a good and magical rest of your day. Bye.
Bye.